Hi, let's go for a ride.
Scientific American, I think it was, did a study in the early 70s on the efficiency of locomotion. And what they did was for all different species of things on the planet, birds and cats and dogs and fish and man and goats and stuff, they measured how much energy does it take for a goat to get from here to there. And they ranked them. They published a list. And the condor won. The condor took the least amount of energy to get from here to there. And man didn't do so well. Came in with a rather unimpressive showing about a third of the way down the list. But fortunately, someone at Scientific American was insightful enough to test man with a bicycle. And man with a bicycle won. Twice as good as the condor, all the way off the list. And what it showed was that man as a tool maker has the ability to make a tool to amplify an inherent ability that he has.
This was Steve Jobs in 1980. He went on to call the computer the bicycle of the mind. The someone at Scientific American he talked about was S.S. Wilson, an engineering lecturer at Oxford University. He took a study that measured the cost of transport as a function of body weight, as in calories per gram per kilometer. It compared fish, rodents, birds, mammals, but also cars and jet airplanes, and humans. Wilson then added man on a bike, and this dyad blew everything else out of the pond. All of this was done in the 70s, so it is safe to assume that with recent developments, those results may be even more dramatic today. Humans aren't the strongest animals. We are not particularly fast nor tough. What makes us so powerful creatures is two things. We're very clever tool makers, and we have stamina, at least as long as we don't put too much impact stress on our muscles and bones. In the ancient technique of endurance hunting, pursuers run down a gazelle in a day-long, continuous but controlled pace. By the end of it, the gazelle is completely spent, and the hunters can walk right up to it. The bicycle may be one of the smartest evolution hacks we ever came up with. Riding bikes utilizes the strongest muscles humans have, those of the thighs, for propulsion only. Other modes of transport like walking or running also use those muscles, but part of that strength goes into holding the body upright. On a bike, we sit. Another form of energy loss when moving on 2 feet is that we not only have to lift our legs to complete a stride, but also move our entire body up and down as we bounce through steps. Our core muscles also consume energy to balance us, and we have to swing our arms back and forth to counter the momentum of our legs moving. And every time we strike the ground, more energy is lost. On a bike, the foot pushing down on the pedal also lifts the other leg. And when we're clipped in, we can even use the upwards motion for actuation. Our arms pull on the handlebars, thus adding to acceleration, and only the tiniest corrections are needed for balancing, since the centrifugal force of the spinning wheels massively helps in keeping the ride straight. Our midriff wedges us in between, so it really is the entire body working to propel us forward, with the exception of the neck muscles, which have to hold up the head so we can see where we're going so damn fast. And lastly, the circular motion ensures that our joints have to endure little strain, since we never impact our knees, ankles or hips at the same spot like we do with running, but rather gently rotate them with every pedal stroke. The bicycle is so inherently human, it could almost be seen as if we evolved to be on a bike. They say war is the mother of invention. But when it comes to innovation in the transportation department, the bicycle led the way in nearly every aspect. There were attempts to introduce rubber tires on horse-drawn carriages, but it took a certain Mr. Dunlop seeing his kid struggle with a bike with wooden wheels to come up with the first feasible, mass-producible pneumatic tire. As long as horses did the work, we didn't care. Putting people on bicycles made us realize that rolling resistance is a thing. The same goes for the wire-spoke wheel. The need for minimizing weight sparked this development, as well as the tubular frame design, which is used to this day in airplane fuselages, motorcycles, bridges, and any form of scaffolding and trussing. The famous Wright brothers, inventors of the airplane, were originally bicycle makers, and their experience in weight-saving construction gave them an important advantage. After various attempts at direct-drive bicycles, we finally came up with the chain and sprocket drive, and with that, and the demand for ever longer-lasting, faster and more efficient drivetrains, we made valuable advancements in metallurgy, heat treatment and lubrication, all in the name of the bicycle. This still holds true today with ongoing research in material sciences to create even lighter, sturdier and more capable frames and components, while chemistry produces constantly better lubes, sealants and glues. As we are busy throwing bicycles off mountains and through traffic, science is hard at work to make that possible, and many other industries benefit from that. In fact, the early development of mass production for mechanical parts is owed to the rapidly growing demand for bicycles at the turn of the last century. In 1899, 312 factories produced 1 million bicycles a year in the US alone. That's 10 years before the Ford Model T, which is credited with the invention of the production line. But Ford did use mass-produced bicycle parts such as chain drives and wheels for his first car. Even the headlight was initially developed for the bike. Gottfried Daimler, one of the key figures in the invention of the car, first put an engine on a bicycle before he tried his hand at a four-wheeled wagon. Carl Benz did the same with his original motor car, the grandfather of the modern automobile. The Bowden cable, a mechanical device consisting of a wire running through a semi-rigid tube to distribute a lever action to anything mechanical, was first invented for the bicycle brakes and is still in use there. Today, it's found in automotive gas and clutch pedal mechanisms, amongst many other applications. And let's not forget the ball bearing. After the wheel, possibly the most important foundation of the modern engineering world. You guessed it, invented for the bike. The pedaling action that needed to be mounted to a frame required a mechanism that can deal with the force a grown human can apply with their feet on crank arms. What we call bottom bracket today is indeed the mother of the ball bearing. But not only mechanical engineering profited from the bicycle. It's also responsible for many important social, economic, and infrastructural advancements of our society. Motorists like to act as if roads are built for them, but bicycle interest groups called and paid for better, smoother roads a good 30 years before car lobbies started tooting the same horn. For the longest time, railroads were the vehicle of choice for travel between cities, and often within. Country roads, for the most part, were gravel or dirt. Inner city streets were predominantly cobblestone. With the advent of the bicycle, individual transport was born, and the demand for smooth surfaces rose. The League of American Wheelmen, a cyclist lobby still active today, formed the US Good Roads movement, which significantly aided what went on to eventually become the US Highway Act. So, quite literally, the bicycle paved the road for the car. The women's liberation movement has some remarkable ties to the bicycle. As it evolved from a weird toy to a more and more popular mode of transportation, women's fashion adapted. The so-called rational dress movement ushered in a break from Victorian dress codes and was heavily fueled by the bicycle and the need for freedom of movement when riding one. Possibly best illustrated by this Punch cartoon.
My dear Jessie, what on earth is that bicycle suit for?
Why, to wear, of course.
But you haven't got a bicycle.
No, but I've got a sewing machine.
And on top of that, bicycles gave women the long-needed freedom from having to rely on men for transportation. This relatively inexpensive and accessible device empowered them to go wherever they pleased and whenever. And sure enough, freedom of movement triggered all kinds of other freedoms. Susan B. Anthony, a teacher, civil rights activist, and suffragette, said,
"Let me tell you what I think of bicycling. I think it has done more to emancipate women than anything else in the world. It gives women a feeling of freedom and self-reliance. I stand and rejoice every time I see a woman ride by on a wheel. The picture of free, untrammeled womanhood."
And while we're on the topic of remedying unjust inequality, the bicycle is also a tool for supporting economic and social improvements in developing countries as well as within the poverty of the overdeveloped world. Its affordability and availability equips the poorest of people to expand the social space beyond the neighborhood they live in, to go to work, to go socialize, to go and acquire goods or seek help, to go and improve their life. We have linked an excellent list of organizations doing the good work in the description. It's also capable of making everyone safer. A 2019 study of the universities of Colorado and New Mexico, link in the description, found that bicycle infrastructure, increased use of bikes as mode of transportation, and according legislation, leads to a significant improvement of the overall traffic safety of any given community. The oh-so-popular opinion that cycling is dangerous just doesn't hold up to fact. To quote the study's co-author,
"Bicycling seems inherently dangerous on its own. So it would seem that a city with a lot of bicycling is more dangerous, but the opposite is true. Building safe facilities for cyclists turned out to be one of the biggest factors in road safety for everyone."
And then there is the undeniable modesty of the bicycle. When we ride, we are in total control of our movement. Philosopher Reverend Ivan Illich wrote,
Bicycles let people move with greater speed without taking up significant amounts of scarce space, energy, or time. They can get the benefit of technological breakthroughs without putting undue claims on the schedules, energy, or space of others. They become masters of their own movements without blocking those of their fellows. Their new tool creates only those demands which it can also satisfy. Every increase in motorized speed creates new demands on space and time. The use of the bicycle is self-limiting. It allows people to create a new relationship between their life space and their lifetime, between their territory and the pulse of their being, without destroying their inherited balance. The advantages of modern self-powered traffic are obvious and ignored.
it empowers us to practically unlimited freedom of movement with minuscule impact on others, the environment, and society. It can liberate us from oppression and poverty. It's healthy and improves safety for everyone. It was and continues to lead major technological innovations. It's the perfect companion to the incredible apparatus that is the human body, and it inspired some of the most successful thinkers to work on their creations. The bicycle is, indeed, the best machine ever built. Thank you for watching, and pedal hard. Oh, hi. You're still here. That's awesome. Thank you for watching. Making weekly YouTube videos appears to be my job now. So, in order to be able to keep doing this, we've established a Patreon page. If you could have a look, the link is in the description, that would be amazing. Thank you for considering helping. Putting out this content is a lot of work, and we'd be super grateful if we could count on your contribution. Thanks again for watching, and pedal hard.